The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power in the creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We got ourselves a wonderful program, lots of great topics, lots of great advice that we're going to share, cool stories, fun times to be had. Coming up in the second segment, we got a fantastic guest this week. We're going to be joined by Mark Caruso, the co-founder and CEO of Angry Mob Music. This is a man who has dedicated his career, his acclaimed career, where he has accomplished a great many things in the music and entertainment industry, but recently he's devoted his career to trying to level the playing field between independent publishers and the major publishers. He has made some pretty bold statements recently about the need for indie publishers to sort of take back the industry to some extent. He's written a lot in Billboard about this, and I'm excited to have him bring that discussion here to Break the Business. And while we have an indie publisher here, I'm also eager to talk to him about what I think is a really important question for most songwriters out there in terms of what their options are in the publishing space. As the music industry has become more democratized, as songwriters have more options than ever before to get their music out there, there are a number of different options that exist for people who write songs to get those songs out into the world, to make money off of those songs, to get those songs recorded, to get those songs on TV shows and movies. And I want to explore some of those options with Mark, because we certainly have the traditional option, right? The major publisher, the co-publisher, that's certainly out there, usually linked up with some big media company. On the other side of the spectrum, what's emerged are these publishing administrators. These are companies that they're not co-publishing. They're not going to take half your copyright. They're just going to collect your royalties for you. And they're going to take a small fee, but they're probably not going to go out and get a lot of opportunities for your music. They're just going to do the collecting, and you have to go out and find the opportunities yourself. And somewhere in the middle, we have what Mark Caruso does, indie publishing. And if Mark were here, he'd probably say that what he wants to give his clients is sort of the robust infrastructure of a major publisher with some of the creative freedom and protections that come with using an administrator. And I'd love to see how that middle ground works in practice. And we're going to talk to Mark Caruso all about that. That's going to be a blast. Do not go anywhere. And speaking of great conversations we can have in the meantime with some other people, excited for our co-host this week. Let's go ahead and bring her in. We got Elisa Rocktalk with us. Hi, Elisa.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy. I love this. I love the blue screen and the cool chair. Just everything you're bringing to the program always makes me happy. How are you?
I'm great. This is just a little actor thing, and just so that Evan can walk around naked.
Speaking of acting, I would actually like to start this program, Elisa. One, by distancing myself as far away from possible as the image of you, just telling me of Evan walking around naked. And instead to actually bring you in to solicit your expertise on the topic of the craft of acting.
Oh.
You are an actress, and I want to have a discussion of the craft with you.
Sure.
Because the other day I'm sitting with my dear wife, and we're watching a TV show called Landman. Are you familiar with this program?
I'm familiar with one of the best performances.
Okay, so you know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Okay. So, well, don't spoil. Let me catch everybody up. So but of course, I love that you already know where my head's at. You already know what I'm talking about because you're both a fan of the craft of acting as well as a football fan and a Dallasite.
So yes, films in the area,
But anyway, yes, I've been watching the show Landman. Oh, wow. That's crazy, right? A middle-aged white guy watching Taylor Sheridan.
Taylor Sheridan show.
What an upset. Taylor Sheridan, or as I heard him referred to on Blue Sky as Redneck Aaron Sorkin, makes a pretty cool TV show called Landman. It's got Billy Bob Thornton in it. It's got John Hamm in it. Two of our finest American actors. And I'm watching an episode of Landman recently, at least, so where I think those two of our finest American actors got outclassed in terms of acting performance by sharing a scene with who I now have to describe as one of our finest American actors, despite not really having a lot of acting credits to his name, Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones.
The Dallas Cowboys owner makes a cameo scene in the show Landman, and he acts his ass off. Like his ass fell off from the acting.
This isn't like, just a drive by like, hey, what's up? And it's like, oh, hey, like you get to point at the TV and be like, I know who that guy is. It was a full on monologue.
It was a 3.5 minute monologue. By the way, with like no backing music or anything, just him like acting in front of like John Hamm. Like, let me set the scene before because I want to play a clip from this, okay, so that everybody can take in the Olivier-like acting genius that Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones brings in, okay? So the scene is, for the radio audience, he is sitting at the hospital bed of this like oil baron played by John Hamm, who, just had a heart attack and is... so Jerry Jones is coming to visit him, playing Jerry Jones, and sort of letting John Hamm know about his own life experience and what he's learned about in terms of what's important in life and being, close to your family and staying connected to them. And producer Lauren, can you play this, just a little bit of this clip for us so we can all see how amazing Jerry Jones is in this?
So good. Oh my God. And here's the thing. I'm literally in like the latter stage of a 2-year weekly acting class. It makes me wonder, is he a Stanislavski boy or is he a Meisner boy? But like one of the things that they talk about, it's like you see the shifts, the little moments in between where the new thought comes to him and he's not necessarily reciting lines. I'm like, he's acting. He's doing the do, and he's doing a really good job. Go Jer Bear.
Like, you have to understand, I'm watching this scene with my wife who knows nothing about football, and I see her tearing up. It doesn't help that we're like new parents, like thinking about how this like matters in our life, and we're thinking about our own child, but she's tearing up, and I'm like trying to explain to her, that's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. He's literally never acted in his life.
Now he has been in a couple of local car commercials.
And he has been playing the role of a NFL general manager for 20 years.
And here's the thing, not necessarily the stretch, but a lot of the times the best acting comes when it is you. You are watching real human beings either on stage or in front of a camera, and that's Jerry. He got choked up.
And I know people are saying like, oh, he's playing himself. Like, how hard can I was like, you do that. Like you like talk about your kids right now and try to make me cry. Okay. That was an objectively good acting performance.
That was pretty good.
And like sharing a scene, by the way, again, with Billy Bob Thornton, Academy Award winner, Golden Globe winner, John Hamm, Emmy winner. And like, you see the two of them, like, looking at them in the scene, like, this is Jerry Jones? Like,
this is Jerry Jones.
Jesus.
Like, like, I have so many questions. I'm like, I want to know how long he was on set for. I want to know what the crafty situation was like. I need to know everything about this scene.
I don't know how much of this is true, like, because they're published, like, a lot's getting published about this, including, like, people saying he needs to get an Emmy nomination for this. I don't oppose that, by the way. Would be hilarious if Jerry Jones wins an Emmy before he wins another Super Bowl.
Oh my
God. If you had to handicap it right now, which one's going to happen first?
Emmy. I'm go Emmy.
I mean, that performance was better than any performance the Dallas Cowboys has had in the last 2 decades.
That's legit.
But Oh God. It's unbelievable. I did not have that on my 2025 bingo card.
Absolutely not, but good for you.
Good for you, Jerry
Good for
Jones.
Jerry.
Oh my god, yeah. But yeah, I like you were the first person I was thinking of. Like I was like, this is an objectively good acting performance. I need to talk to Elisa about this. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, at some point it could be like, okay, he's talking about his kids, whatever. But like, it could be very easy for it to look like somebody set up a teleprompter, like just off camera in front of his face, and could have been reciting, but he was in it. He was in the moment. He was living life on stage or on set, as it were.
And this is the last thing I'll say of this, because I know people don't want to hear an hour of us talking about Jerry Jones's acting, but like,
It could go on forever.
he did the little things.
Yes.
Like the lip quiver, like the tiny little shudder, he looking away, looking back, like stuff that like any acting teacher would tell you, wow, that's somebody who's been doing this for 20 years. Like that person must have a BFA.
Stanislavski always says that acting comes from the body language first. You have to make that mind-body connection. Otherwise, it's not authentic. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, it's there. It's all there.
My man. Oh gosh. Okay. I am excited, Elisa, to have you chatting with Mark Caruso in the second segment as well, because obviously, like, you know, publisher and you're a songwriter and there's a lot to love there. Mm-hmm. He's also the lead singer, or not the lead singer. He's also a performer in an 80s cover band. So I think there is a rich vein of material that we can ask him about. Yeah, 80s music.
How long you got?
I know. Like this whole show, like we got 60 minutes and we're going to use 58 of it talking about Jerry Jones's acting in 80s music. And I think it's going to be one of our most popular shows ever. Perfect. We got to at least sneak some actual show content in, and let's do that with a listener question that we got this week. This is a pretty cool one, and it's actually one that you might remember, Elisa, in terms of the topic, because we actually did cover this topic, probably like 8 months ago, I would say, something in that range, maybe more. But this particular topic continues to rear its head. The listener question says, Ryan, I have an LLC. And I'm getting a bunch of emails saying that I need to file my beneficial ownership information report. Do I still need to do that? I heard there was a court case that says I don't have to do it anymore. This is a great question, and it's something that we as a show have to revisit, because we did a show about 10 months ago, you and me, Rock Doc, where we talked about the Corporate Transparency Act, and we talked about having to do FinCEN filings, and we did this whole bit. We had this thing where you read an audio book.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Talking about, like, you know, it was like a spy novel or something, talking about, it was funny, but why people need to file this act. So, yes, here's the thing. Back last year, 2 years ago, God, it's already 2025, 2 years ago, Congress passed something called the Corporate Transparency Act. And it says that if you have a company that's like any small business, like not a big publicly traded company, but like most LLCs, most small corporations, you are required under the law to disclose who your owners are to a federal organization called the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN. And the way that the law worked was, if you created a company before 2024, so before January 1st, 2024, you had until the end of 2024 to file this report. It doesn't take long, especially if you have a small business. You could probably file it in 5 minutes. It's pretty simple to do. I've been doing it a ton for clients. I spent way too much of my year doing these filings for clients. Like my typing fingers are calloused for all the applications I had to fill out, because there are a lot of companies out there with, that you have businesses. A lot of artists have LLCs, so they have to get their LLCs in compliance. And the law gets even more strict, because if you created a company in 2024, you have only 90 days to file. And I believe if you file a company after January 1st, 2025, you have 30 days to file after you create the company. So yeah, it gets, and so like a lot of artists are like, I have an LLC. Do I need to do this? I keep getting random emails from various companies saying they'll do this for me, and I don't know what this is. I'm scared. And then the lawsuits came. And there have been a great many lawsuits in federal courts all around the country where the constitutionality of this law has been challenged. There are people who are saying that Congress doesn't have the power to require me to disclose who the owners are of my company. Some people say it's a First Amendment violation, a Fourth Amendment violation. If I put on my constitutional lawyer hat, if I were a federal judge, I would say, I don't think there's any reason in the Constitution why the government can't do this. This seems like a perfectly valid exercise of the Congress's Commerce Clause power. Nobody wants to hear me talk con law anymore, so I'll shut my mouth. But it's worth it for me to say that because there are apparently some federal judges in your home state of Texas who disagree with my assessment. Because a Fifth Circuit court in Texas recently held that this law was unconstitutional and said nobody has to cooperate with this requirement anymore. We are saying, we are saying you don't have to comply with this requirement. If you've already submitted your information, that's fine. But if you haven't yet, you don't have to yet. And they filed the court issued what's called an injunction, which means they're sort of pausing the law until the case gets fully resolved, which could take months, years. And depending on how they rule, that will determine whether or not the law gets to be constitutional or not. But in the meantime, there's a pause. But it's confusing because we had this weird moment for the last 2 weeks of December where it seemed like the court couldn't make up their mind. You had one appeals court in Texas saying, yep, we're pausing the law. No one has to file their ownership information. And then you had another court that said, no, just kidding. Yes, you do. And then another court said, no, we really mean it. You don't. And so a lot of people are confused because they're seeing all these different rulings and they're like, what's the current state of the law? So here's what I'm going to say. Okay, because we need to know.
Thank you for the disclaimer at the top of the show that this is not legal advice.
So yes, two things that are important. One, this is not legal advice. This is providing information. Talk to a lawyer to get your own specific legal situation figured out. And two, understand that what I'm about to say could have a shelf life. It is possible that by the time I speak this and when you download it as a podcast or hear it on SiriusXM radio, a court could change their mind again. But as it stands right now, as I speak this on Thursday, January 16th in the year of our Lord 2025, you do not have to comply with this requirement. The injunction remains in place. However, a Supreme Court appeal has been filed. It is possible that at any moment, Clarence Thomas is going to come pop out of his coffin and say, no, you have to do this law again. Well, we don't know. But for now, you don't have to comply. But please keep an eye on this. Do what I do, okay? I actually have a Google alert on my computer that says, in quotes, Corporate Transparency Act injunction. So Corporate Transparency Act, one quote, injunction, another quote. And that should give you alerts if this injunction gets lifted. If it gets lifted, I'm guessing the court's going to give you 30 to 60 days to do the filing. So it's not going to be like, oh, you have 24 hours, or you're going to jail. Nothing like that. But it does speak to how annoying this is because, I'm a lawyer. I have to follow this law for a living. And even I got frustrated trying to figure out what the current state of the law is. If you're an indie artist with an LLC, it's got to be just beyond frustrating.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And then, then you also have the people that are, maybe myself included, be like, wait, do I need an LLC? Should I be doing any of this? All of this? This is hard, especially for indie artists where we have to be literally everything up to and including admins, lawyers, accountants. We have to deal with all this stuff now. Yeah. I wish that there was somebody that could offer their services to help navigate these waters. I don't know if do you know anybody?
This is where you say Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, non-attorney spokesperson.
Non-attorney spokesperson.
I think what further makes it annoying for artists in terms of knowing whether they have to comply with this or not is if you create an LLC, and I think you have a DBA, so maybe you don't deal with this frustration, but like I own a lot of LLCs. Producer Lauren, I think, has some LLCs. Most artists have at least one LLC. And when you get an LLC, your email address gets into the hands of like every, scam organization that wants to do filings for you. And so I see this in my email inbox, which means I know artists are seeing it too, where you get every day 2 to 3 emails from random companies you've never heard of saying your Corporate Transparency Act filing is due. Pay $85, pay $150 for us to do it. And it's false information, at least as it stands right now, because it's not due, because right now it's still voluntary. But, you're getting mixed messages from your email inbox and, different messages from the Fifth Circuit in Texas.
It's awful. And it's also, obviously incredibly predatory for folks that, might be like, I just want to be compliant. I'll do anything. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe just sort of general rule of thumb, always get a second opinion, especially if somebody is offering to perform a service for you for a significant amount of money, that if you just got yourself like a cozy beverage and like put on a podcast and like put on like a 30-minute timer or something, like you could knock that out for free.
Yeah.
So like definitely beware of that kind of predatory stuff.
Depending on the filing, absolutely. But what you're describing in terms of like getting these random emails about things, it's a scourge in my profession. Like if you've ever registered a trademark, if you've ever started a corporation or an LLC, done any sort of legal filing for anything involving your business, you get inundated with emails and snail mails from companies that are sending you things where they're basically doing for you filings that you were going to do yourself anyway, or your lawyer's going to handle for you, or your accountant handles for you. But they look like they're like official government documents.
Oh.
And they usually have like something that looks like an invoice. You're like, oh my God, this is a bill from the government. And really it's just a company that's going to do the filing for you, but they're going to charge you 5 times as much or whatever. And it's brutal. So like I have a policy with all my clients where I'm like, if you ever get anything in the mail that has a bill and if it looks like an official government document, you send it to me first.
Mm-hmm.
I will let you know if this is something you actually have to pay, or if this is something that like I'm going to handle for you or you're going to handle for yourself and it's not an official government document. I don't know what we do about that, right? We need like some kind of like act of Congress or like the trademark office. Like we need to stop those email messages because I know they drive entrepreneurs and artist entrepreneurs crazy.
It's awful. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any advice for somebody who doesn't have like a Ryan in their pocket to help them navigate this?
If you don't have a lawyer to like send these documents to, I'm almost afraid to recommend this because like I feel like every time a lawyer recommends what I'm about to recommend, like the president of every bar association in America just feels like a shudder.
Ooh.
Or like a little tear goes down their eye, like that Native American in that in that garbage commercial. But here's what try Reddit. If you get a just
Try Reddit.
Go on a Reddit forum. Just take a picture of the document. Put it on Reddit. You didn't hear that from me, though. Who said that? Who said that?
I didn't say it, but I gotta say that Reddit has like helped me with so much niche specific stuff. I feel like they're gonna be a good place to start. But also, I don't know, email Ryan. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously, getting a lawyer is the best option. You're gonna get the best advice there, but second best is Reddit. Put it on Reddit. No joke. Reddit fixed my doorknob yesterday. Doorknob bathroom completely broke off. This is unbelievable. Like I could not figure out how to fix this thing. All right. I checked like I checked YouTube videos. Like I was looking at YouTube videos. I was looking like at how-to articles like this. We have this weird doorknob in our new house. I've never seen anything like it. And I was ready to hire a handyman. It was going to probably cost me like, $100 some for this person to come out and fix this doorknob. I took a picture of it. I posted it on the how-to subreddit. No joke. 4 minutes. Wow. I got a full answer on how to fix it. The exact screw I needed, how to install it, step-by-step instructions, done. Like,
Bless the neurodivergent.
yes,
Bless the
absolutely.
neurodivergent who have
Oh,
the time, the energy, the mental bandwidth, and like the particular hyperfixation to be able to deliver and like answer the call, like love.
oh, it's just so outstanding. Oh my God. What a lovely, lovely website that also has some really horrific things on
Yes,
it. Like
absolutely.
just stuff that will completely ruin your life if you go
Yeah.
to the wrong parts of Reddit. But the right parts of Reddit will save your music career and fix your bathroom doorknob. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I want to talk to you, Elisa, about with the few minutes we got left, a couple interesting pieces of Nintendo Switch news before we do the career update here. I noticed that Nintendo Switch has its own streaming service where basically they said, we just want to take just the Nintendo music and we're going to make a streaming services, create playlists. Like, it's Spotify, but just like Animal Crossing and Mario Kart. And you can listen to this. And also there's a new Nintendo Switch device. What about that interests you, Rock Doc? Go.
Okay, so one of the coolest things about the Nintendo Music service in particular is that if you love an Animal Crossing moment, if you love the ambient music of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, etc., there are certain tracks where you can actually extend the time of them. So you can have this track last for 30 minutes or 60 minutes. So for folks who are really interested in having those kinds of like time containers for work blocking and stuff, I feel like it's a really nice service. And not for nothing, but Nintendo Music absolutely whips. It is some of the best music, period, ever created. And the fact that you can have it all in one place, I get actually kind of excited when I get an alert on it that's like, hey, new tracks from this game have been added. And then you can check to see if it's like your favorite Donkey Kong Country track or something. I think it's a really, really cool thing. I like that Nintendo got kind of weird with it. And it's like, we're not gonna create official, like if you want this situation, you got to come to our own little walled garden.
Yeah.
Nintendo, stay weird. I think it's really, really worth checking out if you're a huge, huge fan of Nintendo music, because there's a lot of gold on there.
In the Music 3.0 blog, Blobby Owsinski talks about like how he thinks this might be like a new phenomenon in streaming or music streaming, where like music might start going the way of like what happened with actual TV shows, right? Where it used to be everything was on cable, and then all of the IP owners didn't like the way that cable was treating them, so they're like, well, we're just going to take our stuff and put it in our own garden. Now if we want to listen to all of our music, we're going to have to subscribe to like 100 different mini Spotifys to hear the music we like, and maybe that will lead to the IP owners in those different settings getting paid. Or is this just going to be like, now all of our favorite shows require 20 different streaming services, and it's like worse than when we just had cable?
Yeah, Nintendo, I feel like, is one of the only companies, because of its pedigree of almost over 40 years of music, that they can carry a service like this just on Nintendo-owned IP. I don't necessarily know what other games could possibly do it. I would say if there was like just a Final Fantasy one or like a Square one, I imagine that there would probably be a huge market for that. But good on Nintendo kind of swinging it and being like, oh yeah, by the way, not only do we make awesome games, but our composers are some of like the greatest of all time. And here they are, all for you in a wonderful package.
I do like the idea of them sort of, getting an opportunity to toot their horn about how, how integral music has been to Nintendo's dominance in the video game market. Best exemplified by now a new Switch console. Should we be excited about this?
Yes, I'm still rocking my, Super Mario Odyssey launch Switch 1. But this Switch 2 has a bigger screen. I like the different changes that they've done with the form factor, making the Joy-Con magnetic situation instead of a slide and snap. So it looks like they've taken a lot of feedback from the Switch 1 and incorporated it into this one. There is going to be a very specific Nintendo Direct, I believe April 2nd, that is going to talk about the console in more detail and see maybe if it really is worth the upgrade, depending on what kind of games you want to play. But Even more exciting, Ryan, I know what you're doing in April, but in one, they announced a series of in-person experiences so that you can actually go and try the Switch 2 hands-on. One of them's going to be in Dallas.
Hey.
You know, not saying, just saying.
That sounds like a worthy excursion for me. I'm excited for that, and maybe we'll finally get Mario Baseball on this new console. I've only been waiting for 10 years for a new title on that. We got a few minutes left, Elisa.
Sure.
You want to treat us with a career update? How are things going for you?
Absolutely, things are going great. I had an audition where they very specifically asked for a bite and smile shot, because it's for a food commercial. So I got to eat on camera and take several takes and therefore several bites. And that was a fun new experience as an actor, where you actually have to start thinking about how pretty you eat. Now, that was nothing that I had to think about before. So that's cool. But next week, speaking of all the fun eating I'm about to do, I'm going to be at MagFest. That is the music and gaming festival in National Harbor, Maryland. Very excited to be in the DC area next week in particular. But if you would like to hang out with me, I like to call myself a complicated kaleidoscopic prism of a woman. And all of my sides are being featured here. On Thursday night, I'm going to be a judge on the Jamming with the Stars panel. So if you're interested in getting some feedback from musicians on your craft, you can go ahead and hang out with us there. On Friday, I'm going to be on a voice acting panel with a couple of other voice actors. I think one of them is a Sonic voice actor, talking about video game voice acting, giving tips and tricks. So all of you aspiring voice actors will want to go to that one. For some reason, I have an autograph session on Saturday, which is still very weird, and I don't think I'll ever get used to that. So if you want me to doodle on something, you can go ahead and bring it on Saturday. And if you are interested in entering the gaming industry, or if you are pursuing academic study of video games, all of the above, which I've done, we have a MAGES speed networking panel that is the Music and Gaming Educational Symposium, because we're nerds. And it's basically going to be almost like a speed dating format, where you're going to be chatting with a bunch of academics and industry professionals, sometimes all of the above, and be able to get a lot of really good advice in a very short amount of time. So I'm really excited about all of those things, and getting my actor side, my musician side, my academic side, all satisfied in this one beautiful convention. I hope to see you there.
That's absolutely marvelous. Where can people find, if they want to just know more about what you're doing, like socials, website, where do they go?
Sure. So I am squatting basically on every other TikTok and Instagram competitor that exists. I'm going to try to be Elisa Rock Doc everywhere that y'all might end up. But what I'm also trying to do is take my own advice and post on own site syndicate elsewhere. And I should have a blog post up on elisamelendez.com or elisarockdoc.com. Buy all of your domains, by the way. elisarockdoc.com. I should be having a blog post up in the next couple of days. It's going to have all of the nitty-gritty details, so that if you find yourself in the area, I would love to see you.
Well, I for one am looking forward to your MagFest Get Ready With Me on Little Red Book that you'll be doing in perfect Mandarin. So that should be fun.
I know. I'm so excited. I've always wanted an excuse to learn a new language. So here we go.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Over the moon for you. So excited. I can't wait for the MagFest report when you come back. It sounds like you're going to have a lot of great stuff to share.
Oh, I cannot wait for the recap.
Let us take a break, and we'll be back with Mark Caruso of Angry Mob Music here on Break the Business. Don't go anywhere. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with the complicated kaleidoscope. What was the rest of it?
Kaleidoscopic prism of a woman.
Yes, all of that, Elisa Rock Doc. We're having a great time. This is magic being made here on volume.com and all major live streaming podcasting platforms, as well as SiriusXM 145. Wherever you are checking out all of this, we're just so darn glad that you are. Thanks for reviewing. Thanks for rating. Thanks for telling a friend. Mwah. We love you very much for it. Let's go ahead and bring out our guest this week.
Out in the city where the big deals roll, there's a hero talking about taking control. He champions indies with a fiery spark, lighting up the night like a rebel's mark. Mark Caruso fights the fight, a voice for the voiceless in the dead of night. Angry mob music takes the stand, breaking the business with a mighty hand.
That was unbelievably cheesy, and I
How did
still
you
like
get
it
so
unironically.
that?
Our guest this week is the co-founder and CEO of Angry Mob Music, an LA-based indie music publisher. Our guest writes and speaks frequently on the topic of the need for independent publishers and creators fighting for a more equitable music industry. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting angrymobmusic.com. We are happy to welcome Mark Caruso on to Break the Business. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Elisa. Thanks so much for having me. I love that song, by the way.
I mean, I already envision you like listening to that every morning while you're getting ready, just like
It's my
jumping
ready
around.
to go music now,
It-
100%.
Absolutely ready to go music. I mean, Mark Caruso fights the fight.
It was
Oh my
funny. It
God.
was playing, and I wasn't really dialed in yet. I'm like, oh, it's like a little break music. All of a sudden, I heard my name. I was like, what?
This song is about me.
Yes.
Mark, I have so many important, hard-hitting, powerful questions for you that I want to ask about the role of independent publishers in today's music industry and the kind of hot take article you wrote in Billboard, like straight fire in Billboard that you wrote recently about this very topic. And we will, I promise we will, because it's a very important topic. But before we get into that, Mark, I need to ask you about your 80s cover band.
Yes.
And we
Thank you.
and we like can we agree equally as important as elevating the position of independent publishers in the music industry, 80s
Oh, yeah.
music.
It's
Okay.
on par.
So I've always told myself that if I ever run into somebody who plays like in an 80s cover band, I have to talk to them about my favorite TV commercial ever. Okay.
Which was?
Okay. So because I want to talk to you about this commercial and specifically about what I would like for you to do now that you're going to know this commercial exists. Do you have any TV commercials, Mark, that you remember from your childhood that are just
Sure.
burned into your memory? Like you can cite them word for word? So
Absolutely.
I have one of these, and I believe this commercial is the same for Elisa Rock Doc, because we grew up
boy.
together, so like we both watched the same commercials. But here's the commercial, okay? 25 years ago, Mark, Time Life Music sold a compilation CD called Modern Rock.
Oh man.
and it had a bunch of 80s songs on it. I don't know why this CD was called Modern Rock. It was neither modern nor rock. It was 80s new wave music. But when I tell you,
gosh.
Mark, that this commercial has a absolute chokehold on me, every word of it burned into my memory. I can't tell you my toddler son's first word. I can tell you every word of the Time Life Modern Rock compilation commercial, okay? The most important clip of which I want to play for you right
Tell
now,
me it's that one
okay?
transition.
Of course it's the one transition, Elisa Rock Doc.
Okay.
Of course it's the one transition. See, I knew she knew. Okay. So, you know how these like old Time Life music compilation commercials were, right, Mark? Where it's like they show like a scrolling list of all
I
the
was just
tracks.
gonna say, it was a scrolling list of
Yeah.
all the artists and songs on the compilation.
And then while the list is playing, like they're showing clips of like music videos from some of the songs. So in this commercial for Modern Rock, they're, again, some of the greatest 80s music. Like this compilation, by the way, like it's a great compilation album. Like all the tracks were absolute bangers. But in the commercial, about 60 seconds in, they're playing De Carmissar by After the Fire.
Yep.
Okay? And they go and they transition from De Carmissar to Tainted Love by Soft Cell. And the way that they do it is they take the O lyric in De Carmissar and they lined it up with the O lyric in Tainted Love and do a quick cut transition, delivering to all of us what I think is one of the most impressive sonic achievements ever captured
It's one of the best
in a
edits, I
TV
think, in
commercials.
cinematic history.
Yes, it's a gorgeous edit. Producer Lauren, do we have this clip so we can play it for Mark?
Presenting Modern Rock, 24 new wave dance hits.
Come turn around. Oh. We're coming stars in town. Oh.
Yes!
Favorite
Okay,
80s
all
dance
right.
hits.
An editor really went to town on that.
I
That
mean,
was-
so producer Lauren, can you cue that back up? See if we can find that one more time.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean,
smooth like
just
butter.
like, I mean, and I'm telling you, for 25 years, Mark, Elisa Rock Doc and I have been texting each other back and forth where we just go, "The commissar's in town, Tainted Love." Do you have it for us one more time, producer Lauren? And then I swear we'll get to real topics.
Yeah.
Come turn around. Oh. We're coming stars in town. Oh. Tainted love.
Oh my God. So, okay, yeah.
So the likelihood of you taking that back to your band.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
So-
so here's the thing. We play each of those songs. So now, but of course, that transition happens in the middle of the song. So kind of
Wait.
kill the dance floor, maybe. But
Well,
it's
you'd have to
medley.
do it as a medley for
We've done
sure.
Other medleys, so maybe.
Like, all right. So all we ask, Mark, is that you get your band, get them rehearsing, see if we can get this transition nice and clean, and just send us a clip, okay? Because I would love so much to see a band
Crowd
actually
reaction
attempt
and
this.
everything, right?
So good.
It's been 25 years. Like, you understand, we have Gen Z we have Gen Z people like listening to this program who don't even know what a compilation album is.
Or
They're
a
like, I
compact
don't know.
disc.
Yeah, or a compact disc.
Album.
Or who After the Fire is. But that's
Never
how long.
mind that there was the English version and the original German, right? So there was Falco and After the Fire. So just remember that.
And we absolutely will. Okay, so now two hard hitting topics. Okay, we you are an acclaimed music industry professional. We don't want to waste any more of your time. A few weeks back, Mark, you wrote an article in Billboard called, quote, "It's time for indie publishers to get angry." Yeah, I love that in a Billboard headline, by the way. It highlights the importance for independents in your industry to compete that when independents in your industry need to compete fairly against the major publishers. Your article notes how major publishing companies are using Spotify and TikTok and those platforms are giving the major publishers advantages, putting indies at a disadvantage. Why is this happening, and why is this a problem for the music industry?
Well, there's always been a disparity between independents and smaller companies, and individual songwriters are in that same bucket, and the majors. And where the rub has always been is that independents, like my own company, we are very singular focused. We're focused on songwriters and publishing, and that is it. That's what we do. It's our bread and butter. Major publishers are affiliated with a record label arm, all the marketing, all the infrastructure that a conglomerate owner has. And so the disparity was always there. But what really kind of came about and was the inspiration for this op-ed was this last year, there were a couple events that happened in the industry that really put a spotlight on that disparity. Just for context for a second, the largest major publisher is Sony. They have about a 25% share of the market. Independent publishers as a group have 40% of the market, but they don't have a single voice like a major does. And so what happened last year, the two events that I'm talking about, both actually relate to TikTok. And independent publishers don't have an ability or enough size and leverage to do a direct deal with a tech company that is as large as TikTok. And so independent publishers are part of called a collective license that's offered. There were two in the marketplace from the NMPA, so our trade group, which includes majors, and another company called Music Reports that also has a license. And so what happened was that license, which was running for a couple of years, which is not a good license, it ended, and there was no new license from the NMPA for independent publishers to opt into. Now, having said that, that happened at the same time that Universal pulled their music because their license also expired. And then they said, well, you know the story. They couldn't agree. They said, well, we're going to pull our music, and they did. And then they eventually got a direct deal done. So that happened, and that really kind of, as an independent company, like, oh, we don't have a license through the NMPA. We have to accept this other license that is not so favorable, or is still on the same terms as the old one. And so with all that, it was like, there's got to be something more here that independents can do as a group together. And it's always been talked about in industry cocktail parties, networking events, like, oh, it'd be great if all the independent publishers could get together, and like how the independent labels have Merlin, which is
I was just about to think like Merlin, for
right?
on
There's
label
no
side.
Merlin for publishers. The second event that I referred to was TikTok didn't renew the Merlin license. So independent labels then were in the same boat as the independent publishers. And so this really just kind of got my fire going a little more than it already does all the time. And so I wrote the op-ed to really kind of point out that disparity and basically wave the banner that independence together, we can have so much strength and voice, but we need to have that motivation to be able to do it. And so that op-ed was trying to be a motivating factor.
And so when you speak of it being time for the indies to unite, as you do in this article, your vision for uniting is what? Is this like collective bargaining so that you have it more size when you go up against the tech companies and you're sort of equal at the table to the major publishers like a Sony?
Personally, I don't believe that forming a Merlin for publishers is the right answer, at least at this juncture. We have the NMPA, and they are a tremendous organization that has brought so much value to the publishers through legislation, litigation, and many of these licenses. But what my view is that if we can collect the independent publisher's voice, maybe through an existing organization, in full disclosure, I was the chapter president of the LA chapter of the AIMP, which is the Association of Independent Music Publishers. An organization like that, or maybe SONA, the Songwriters of North America, and an existing organization, if they could have a seat at the table or on the board of steering the NMPA, then the independent voice has a vote. And that's really maybe that first step where the independents collected have a representative that is at the same table as the majors, as the very large independents that are above call it the Merlin market share. And that would be almost like the path of least resistance here. Forming another trade group that would be in competition with NMPA, I don't think is the right answer at this point.
So if, say, for example, I'm an individual singer-songwriter, how would I be able to sort of maybe take up the cause or potentially help, or it just sort of feels overwhelming from an individual standpoint, like where do I even go to release music, much less make sure that it's actually getting distributed on all of these platforms?
Yeah, if you're a songwriter, either a writer producer or a writer artist, I think first off you need to educate yourself. So joining an organization that provides opportunities for education, the AIMP, SONA, each put on programming to educate about, well, how can you learn more about the industry? What are the challenges? What are possible solutions? Learn about advocacy that is happening on the behalf of songwriters and artists. A2IM on the artist side. Same idea there. So education is a big piece. I think as an independent creator, there is the creativity and the business. And as an independent, if you are a solo songwriter artist, you're like a startup, like you're doing everything, right? You're devising the product that you're taking to the market, let's say, that's the song or the recording, both. You then have to market it. You have to collect the royalties on it, make sure things are registered and so forth. And so at some point, you educate yourself to be able to do all those things. But to the last part of your question, at some point, then you start to maybe take off some of those hats and let others, whether it's another company, a distributor, if it's a recording side, if it's a publisher for collecting royalties or sync, so then you can do what you do best, which is write music, record it, engage with fans. And so that would be the recommendation.
Cool. Mark, one of the things that I had talked about in the beginning of the show in terms of the state of the landscape now for publishing and what it means for songwriters is, and this is obviously grossly oversimplifying it, but there's kind of 3 tracks that a songwriter has in terms of what they want to do to get their songs out there, to make money off their music, to get their music published, right? You have the major publisher route, you have the administration route where you just hire a company like Songtrust to collect your royalties, but they're not actually going to go out and find opportunities for your music, but you get to keep 100% of your copyrights. And I sort of suggested that independent publishers like Angry Mob are a middle ground between these kind of the two ends of this spectrum. Like, do you think that's a fair characterization? And for a songwriter, what advice would you give them in terms of which of those 3 paths they should choose and what might make them want to choose one over another?
I think you look at your career path, right? If you're just starting out, you may not attract the attention of a even an independent publisher yet, and I'll explain why. But I think out of the gate, using some of these services that aggregate. So if you're distributing through TuneCore or DistroKid, if you're an artist, or Symphonic, and then using their publishing services, opting in, so at least the registrations are being done for the songs, that at least there's royalties that are being collected. How well they're collected might be debatable because of the sheer number and the volume of songs that they are dealing with in that aggregate. And then let me go to the other side, attracting a major, it probably isn't going to happen until you've had a hit or you've developed yourself. There's no development so much anymore at a major, either on the label side or the publishing side. So then the independent publishers, to answer your question, that's where we fit in, where we work and develop songwriters that have kind of started to really hone their craft, but they're ready to go to the next level. And that's really where we fit in. And so as an independent, we have a close relationship with our writers. So the idea is kind of a boutique size where you're not lost among 10,000 writers. So you've got personal attention, but with experience and everything else that goes along with that, to make sure that you're getting the money collected in that wide net that has to be done now to earn.
So is that giving you some good ideas there, Elisa? As I know
Yeah,
you're kind of in the
absolutely.
market for a publisher, and maybe you're thinking, okay, this might be. I know what to do with some of my songs now.
Yeah, it might be a thing. Because especially it's difficult to manage everything on top of, actually producing art. So having a kind of hands-on approach and maybe like a little bit more of a guided approach might be really, really nice for a lot of artists.
Something to think about too is there are so many independents, as I said at the start, there are thousands of them, but you can really start to look at independents that fit who you are as a songwriter and what your story is. With a major, right, there's 3, right? So now all those myriad of stories are within each of those 3, but if you want a relationship with a team that really gets you, you can pick and choose more in the independent sector because there's more of them, and you'll find niches for different publishers.
Yeah,
Our
it's
guest
nice
is-
because, well,
Oh, sorry,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna say because on the one hand, you aren't a number. It could be overwhelming because there's so much choice. But it's either, be just kind of a number on a call sheet, or actually have somebody that you can vibe with and actually understands what you're trying to do and what you're trying to say.
Absolutely. Small fish in a big pond or big fish in a medium pond.
There you go, an independent pond. Our guest has been Mark Caruso, the co-founder and CEO of Angry Mob Music. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting angrymobmusic.com. And if you have yet to read it, be sure to check out his recent article in Billboard magazine. Pretty good stuff there. And, keep an eye out for his 80s cover band, because they're going to do a pretty cool transition medley of
It's coming.
DeCarmassar to Tainted Love, and you're going to want to be there for that. Before we let you go, Mark, and you've been an absolutely wonderful sport. We appreciate you coming on. We got one last question for you. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
I'll reiterate what I said at the start. Educate yourself. Not just about how to write music, how to record music. Educate yourself about what's happening in the industry, because they'll make you a better collaborative partner with who you work with, whether that's a company or a co-writer or another artist. So education is key to almost everything here.
Our thanks to Mark Caruso and Elisa Rockdock. Our thanks to producer Lauren and Tears for Fears and After the Fire. And thanks to all of our viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.